Hi, welcome to MXPTV. I'm Christy Amon.
And I'm Tom Bradley.
And we're out here at Crossroads MX in Mason, Illinois.
That's right, we're out here for a Loretta Lynn's regional qualifier. We're going to have a look at some race highlights coming up. Welcome back to another race highlight show. It's a big weekend out here at Crossroads MX. With this being a regional qualifier, there's a lot going on. And the first thing we want to talk about here is the weather.
All right, it started out Friday in the mid-80s and it got real dry during practices. The track was totally dried out and hard. Saturday it got up to 93 with a heat index of 105, which kept the track dry. And then Sunday morning it started out overcast, which looked like it was going to be a good thing, but the clouds cleared up and it was windy and a dry track.
With the weather the way it was, it made it more and more difficult for not only the riders, but the track workers as well. It created chaos of sorts and became very difficult to keep up with the weather conditions over the course of the weekend.
It ended up being a really long day on Saturday. After the races got off to a late start, there was an injury and the ambulance had to leave to take the rider to the hospital. Now, for those of you who don't know, once an ambulance leaves, the races aren't allowed to continue until it comes back. It got to be almost 8 o'clock when the races were just called for the day after only one moto was completed.
Now, right after this, we're going to take a look at some of the race highlights, but we've got a couple of things we want to point out here that are a little bit different at a regional qualifier. Normally on a race weekend, we would cover the battles for first, second, third, but here we're going to cover the battles for fifth, sixth, and seventh because we want to know who qualifies for Loretta Lynn's, who's on the bubble, who's in the transfer spot. It's because it's the first 6 riders that will qualify to go to Loretta's.
And something else that's different this weekend was that there were actually 3 motos instead of just the 2 we usually see on this show.
So let's take a look at some of those race highlights. Here's a look at the action from the 3rd moto in the Vet BC 30 Plus class. We're looking at rider number 952, Ronald Lasko. Drove all the way down from Wisconsin trying to qualify for Loretta Lynn's. Right now he's running in the number 8 spot, and he has to get to the 4th spot to qualify here out of the regional. He's got a little bit of help right here as the leader goes down and stalls his bike, putting Ronald in the number 7 position. He's got 3 riders left in front of him. He's got to get around all 3 of them to go to Loretta's, but he's only going to manage to get around 2, putting him in the number 7th position overall, just 1 spot shy of qualifying for Loretta's. Let's take a look at another critical pass that happened in the 2nd moto of the 250B class. The 151 on the Suzuki, Cole McRae, is going to get passed right here by the 593 of Austin Wagner. And that's really a key pass for Cole McRae because had he held on to this position and even moved up 1 more spot, that would have given him the point total to qualify in the number 6 spot instead of in 7th like he did, just 1 spot out of going to Loretta's. It's battles like this where you really have to fight for these positions in all the motos because you can't just give yourself a mulligan and figure I'll make it up the next one because you never know when you're going to have another bad moto. You have to really fight for all these positions, try your hardest until the checkered flag, and that's what's going to make you count. That's what's going to get you down to Loretta Lynn's. We'll pick up the action here in the 2nd moto of the 250A Pro Sport class. Here's a great example of what riders should do every moto on the track. Number 297 on the Kawasaki, that's Dalton Carlson. He's battling for 7th right now. Just moved into the number 7 spot. He's going to eventually end up 6th, but as you can see in front of him, there's no rider there. He's got about 6 or 7 seconds to go to pick off that rider, and he's going to push all the way to the checkered flag. He's going to pick off that rider, end up 6th, and that's going to help him clinch 4th overall and qualify for Loretta Lynn's. As we talk about the battles here, let's take a minute to look at the track. Here's a great shot of a corner. Obviously, one of the most important things to note is the number of lines in this corner. There's 4 main lines in this corner. And some of the slower riders, the novice riders, maybe even some of the B riders, will see these ruts as just something else they have to deal with. But the faster B riders and the A riders, they will use these ruts to their advantage and help them carry their momentum through the corners. Here's a good shot of the elevation change that is a big part of the Crossroads motocross track. As they come down that long hill into this right-hand sweeper and head through this roller section, it's really critical to keep the bike straight. You want to keep that rear tire tracking into an S-turn that will take them back up on top of the track. Now, line selection on these downhills is very important. Here you see 2 riders coming down side by side. Number 30 is going to go to the inside, coming into the corner hot, but he takes over the position as they hit the uphill triple. As we watch this battle here in the second moto of the College BC 17-24 class, we're going to see number 611 there, Neil Borgic, on the ground. He went down while running in the top 3. He just now gets his bike going. He's now well outside the top 10. And remember, you have to get back up in the top 6 to even have a chance at qualifying for Loretta Lynn's. But as he comes into the next corner, he's going to clip another downed rider, and his hand just gets jerked off the handlebars. And this just goes to show you that good starts are critical, and you have to make sure you minimize mistakes, because that's what you're going to have to do down at Loretta's in order to get a good finish. Here's a look at a fantastic battle in the Junior Plus 25 class, Moto number 3, between the 60 of Roy Horton and the 302 of Scott Gendro. Horton would go on to take the overall win for the weekend with 1-2-1 finishes, followed by Gendro with 3-3-2 finishes. And it should also be noted that the fastest lap times of the weekend were turned in by these two riders in the Junior Plus 25 class.
All right, we've got something new for you this week. It's called the Sick Whip Shoutout, and it's just going to be anything cool that we see out on the track. It doesn't have to necessarily be a whip, but that's what we're going to call it. So here's this week's first Sick Whip Award.
This week we're going to acknowledge a man we interviewed a couple of months ago at Lincoln Trail Motorsports. We had a few comments on the website, said he was kind of quiet in his interview, and that may be, he might be a kind of quiet guy. But on the track, Michael Norris lets his riding do all the talking.
All right, that's all we've got for this week, and Tom and I won't be out at Loretta's, but MXPTV will be there, so make sure you check back the week after for some race highlights.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the next show.
Don't you cry no tears tonight. Had to tell your son he's doing right. Yes, he had to leave, he's on the run.